I've had an on and off again relationship with World of Warcraft for about the past 17 years. And over that time, I've probably put in over 10,000 hours. That's 10,000 hours I could have learned a new skill. 10,000 hours I could have practiced an instrument. 10,000 hours I could have learnt a new language. But I spent it all on World of Warcraft. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about my history with World of Warcraft and why I find it hard to commit to playing it for more than about 3 months at a time, and why I've had that on and off again relationship. I also want to talk about Retail WoW, which is the current version of World of Warcraft, and Classic WoW, which is the game when it originally came out with no expansions, and why I prefer Classic WoW. So going back when I first discovered World of Warcraft, I made an undead mage and I was totally enraptured by the world of Azeroth. I thought it was the most amazing game that I'd ever played, and I would love to jump on and play World of Warcraft after school, and I'd be ending up playing it well into the night, usually until about 4 a.m, get like maybe an hour or two of sleep, and then be in school, slumped over the desk, wishing that I had gone to bed. But as time went on and expansions came out, I began to not feel that oomph to continue playing World of Warcraft. I did play pretty solidly until around the Mists of Pandaria expansion, and then I sort of petered off and I lost my enthusiasm for the game. And it became a trend for me. Whenever a new expansion would come out, I would play it, and I would play it for about 3 months, and then I would just completely forget about the game until the next expansion rolled around. Something just didn't feel quite as satisfying anymore. And it's only now, later in my life, when I look back retrospectively, and now that I have access to Classic WoW, I can really notice the difference. And when Classic WoW did come out, I felt that again. I got completely addicted, probably with the help of the lockdown situation. I was able to get completely into World of Warcraft again and fall in love with the game all over again. But retail WoW, the current World of Warcraft, it's a completely different game now. It's got so many new mechanics, so many new things. It's overwhelming, and especially for a new player. I recently got one of my friends into WoW. We've been playing Classic WoW, and he had a little go on Retail WoW and was completely confused as to what was going on. I think the new player experience of Retail WoW is just one of confusion and just overwhelm. We did a dungeon, and we've done many dungeons on Classic WoW. We got to about level 30 on hardcore at this point. Just base WoW with no expansions, and we go into a dungeon on Retail together because I just wanted to see what it looked like with fresh eyes. And we happened to roll into a Classic WoW dungeon. So it was one of the dungeons that originally came out with the game. And the tank was level 11, and before I'd even loaded in, he was already barreling down through the dungeon and killed the first boss. And pretty much the whole dungeon was me just trying to catch up with this guy as he completely soloed the dungeon. And my friend said to me, "What the hell's going on?" And he felt very unsatisfied with the game. And I feel like this really highlights how I feel about Retail. There's something empty about it. There's something that just is deeply unsatisfying with it. It's got the spectacle, it's got the graphics, it's got the looks, it's got the visuals, the sound effects, the music, but there's just something empty to it. When I get gear, I'm not excited about it because I know that gear will just be replaced very quickly. That gear will become outdated. I will get outpaced. The next patch will come out and everything that I have done becomes irrelevant. Now, when I play Classic WoW, I could do one of the raids. Maybe it's an older raid, but that gear is strong and that gear carries me for the rest of the game. Yes, I can get upgrades, but it doesn't feel quite as redundant as Retail gear does. And I think that's one of the reasons why I find it so hard to maintain a long subscription when I'm just playing Retail. I just don't find it that interesting, and especially with one of the latest expansions, The War Within, at the time of recording this, I was questing through and I just found the quests very dull. The quests were like, help these dwarves feed the rams, go tend to the farms, do this busy work. And the busy work, I just find it so boring. It's not interesting in the slightest, and it feels like I'm in a Disney film. It feels more like a kid's game. And I guess, yeah, these games are made for kids, but when you log into Classic WoW and you speak to anyone for any amount of time, you realise that everyone in that game is 30 or older. You might have not said anything in a dungeon and someone will randomly say, "I'll be right back, got to help the kids." And you realise that everyone on Classic WoW is probably just like you. So if you're 30 listening to this right now, they're probably like you. There aren't any younger people playing it because it's of no interest to them. So who is retail even for? I don't know, because it's not for me. I've really come to learn that I like the slow progression of Classic. I like the way that the gear is more impactful. The gear has more meaning to it. When I level up, it has more meaning to it. And I don't know if it's just the fact that it's a slower paced game, that those decisions, you have more time to make them, or if it's just the fact that I'm an old man and I like Classic WoW. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because it's just something that's just been burrowing in the back of my mind. But I do go through phases, even with Classic WoW, where I still will play it for about 3 months. But the thing is, I always end up returning to it. And there's something about it, I don't feel like I can put it down until I've got one of each character to level 60 in Classic WoW. And once I've done that, will I be happy? I don't think so. I don't think it will really change anything, but for some reason, I've been working towards this goal and I'm almost there. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's just the past me wishing that I had these characters leveled up. There's something about it. Something about the fact that these servers will never progress. They are Classic WoW. There's an end point. I like that about the game. See, I do enjoy playing WoW, but I like the fact that there is an end point. There is a point when your character is the strongest it will be. There will be no more patches. There will be no more raids. There'll be no more expansions. That's it. You've completed the game. And there's something about that sort of perpetual expansion, perpetual content machine that retail WoW has become that I just don't enjoy. I like it when things have an end. I like to be able to complete something. And it feels like that Blizzard have got really good at making a game that never ends. And I just don't find that satisfying in the slightest. So my current plan is to get to those level 60s and perhaps do a little bit of raiding. I probably won't bother gearing most of them up, just gear one character up. But once I've got those level 60s, I'll feel like, yeah, I'm done with this game. And it will finally have some sort of resolution to it. And I think that might be satisfying. But maybe it won't. In fact, I'm almost certain it won't be satisfying. Is anything really that satisfying once you end it? When I watch shows, on Amazon or Netflix. There might be specific shows just made for those platforms. And maybe episode 1 is really good and it hooks you in. And then as the episodes go on, it just becomes less and less satisfying. Until it gets to the point when I wish that I never watched it in the first place. I almost think that it might be worth even just watching the first episode of a lot of shows and leaving it at that. Would that be more satisfying? It seems that all of the effort and all of the interesting stuff, the mystery, gets laid out in episode 1. And it never goes anywhere satisfying after that. So why bother watching anymore? And I get that feeling with retail WoW. I get that feeling in general. And now I've just really lost my tangent. So those are my thoughts on World of Warcraft. I just really fancied talking about that with you guys. And thank you so much for listening.